You normally see the defense attorney come into court and tells the court, you need to assign a special public defender because we have a conflict.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science, the most authentic voice in true crime. Well, it looked like the outcome of Kohberger's attorney's apparent conflict of interest would be that he'd simply sign a waiver. But now it seems very likely that Ann Taylor isn't going to be allowed to represent Brian, even if she wants to. And take note that she hasn't voluntarily come forward thus far. And so, I mean, even if she did go ahead, if Brian wanted her to go ahead and the prosecutor allowed her to go ahead or didn't oppose her going ahead, and I don't see that happening, you could have grounds for the conviction being overturned. You could have Brian himself applying for his conviction to be overturned because of these conflicts of interest. And it's not just one, it's not just two, it's at least three. Ann Taylor, no. So it looks like Ann Taylor has represented not just Xana's mother, but two other parental figures of another victim as well. Before we get to that, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Many thanks to those of you who have subscribed. Welcome to the channel. I've been itching to deal with content related to the culture surrounding this. And if you think about this aspect, the other family members and what they've gotten up to, aspects that many of you have said you don't want to hear about. But nevertheless, it provides a lot of color, a lot of context to the actual fabric out of which this crime took place. Can you see it's not just a black and white situation where you have a perpetrator who's evil and everyone else is good? Things are a little bit less simple than that, right? If you're enjoying this episode, please like, share, leave a comment. You can also hit the thanks button, and let's get started. Now, according to Newsweek, that's an article that has just come out, it is unclear which of the other victims' parents have been represented by Taylor, Kohberger's attorney, in prior unrelated cases. Well, we're going to answer that question right now, or try to answer it. As far as I know, the other victims' parents are, or might be, Maddie Mogan's father, Benjamin, his wife, Corey Hatrock, and that is Maddie's stepmother. And then there's also a rumor of one of Kaylee's uncles running afoul of the law. I don't know whether he was represented by the same person, but that's something that came out. It was actually mentioned by Joseph Morris, so treat that bit of information with caution. One does have to wonder, where is Maddie's biological mother in all of this? In any event, some of my subscribers and even a few patrons on Patreon took me to task for having the temerity to cover Xana's mother. How dare you? How dare you cover that? And then the legal conundrum Ann Taylor, Kohberger's attorney, now finds herself in due to a conflict of interest. Please don't pay attention to that. Please ignore it. If you're one of those people, you might not want to listen any further or think any further about this, as it might ruin your moral sensibilities. Please, let's not pay attention to that. It's making me uncomfortable. So maybe put your hands over your ears, or so that you're not exposed to any more victim blaming. This isn't true crime where we're trying to figure out the relationships and the dynamics and the mechanisms. This is about being politically correct. No, actually it is true crime. I mean, who gives a fuck about the legal process when you're trying to get a quadruple murderer convicted? I do. I give a fuck about the legal process. I give a fuck about finding out what is going on in this case. Who are the people involved, right? So for the rest, those who are interested in investigating this case, for those interested in the reality, in finding out what is really going on, between two of the victims, there's a mother, a father, and a stepmother, all of whom have had run-ins with the law. And these are not just incidental run-ins. We're going to deal with that in a second. But just that fact, right? Parental figures, a mother, a father, and a stepmother, that puts into really stark perspective that idea of the dismissive way the partygoers dealt with the cops during their numerous noise complaints. Now, bear in mind, Ann Taylor representing a father, a mother, a stepmother, that is in defense of some kind of legal transgression. They broke the law in some way or are alleged to have broken the law. And so if you think about how the partygoers dealt with the numerous noise complaints, that dismissive sort of attitude to law enforcement, where does that come from? Is that just because they're young people? Is it something that might come from their parents? And it also makes one scratch one's head even more regarding the long time it took for the survivors or anyone else to call 911, right? It also gives a deeper sense, a kind of a troubling sense of the corrupting impact of substances in the fabric surrounding the funhouse. And there have also been several people complaining about that. How dare you call it the funhouse? Please, let's not have that associated with something that might be drug-related. Now, according to what SM Kohberger has sent to me, there seems to be quite a pattern of criminal behavior. According to SM Kohberger, be advised that research of Xana's mother's past reveals that Kara Knodel was charged with child endangerment regarding her daughter Xana. She lost custody way back in 2003. So if you think about it, that's 20 years ago, right? And it makes you sort of think, was Xana basically an infant at the time? And it does make one wonder, was Xana neglected in serious ways if her mother lost custody over her when she was really still a baby? Xana's mother has 40 convictions of drug dealing compiled over 20 years. And these were serious charges. And you can see that Xana's mother was actually a beautiful brunette at one stage. And so it does raise the question, was Xana ever a priority? And then it does also make you wonder, was this gratuitous fun that these victims were participating in, was it in a sense trying to run away from darkness and suffering in their childhoods? Was it perhaps overcompensating for a not entirely safe or happy childhood? Did some of the monsters of the past come back to roost in just some of the ways that things do come back to roost? But what does that mean specifically? And I do want to follow up this video with a more in-depth discussion about culture. What role do sort of different cultural fabrics play in creating the framework for serious crimes to take place? And that might sound very cerebral, but in plain language, it really does set up the scaffolding for criminal mindsets, criminal motives. And I'll be covering that in the next episode. Do you see how important it is to stay curious, to keep gathering information? Do you see how much you can find out if you just keep searching? So look out for that video, which essentially covers the 9th clue we've all missed. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.